Hey guys, welcome to the Monday Morning Mindset Podcast. This is the first classroom edition. So the focus is to have a classroom setting where we do specific topics specific to what you do to make money. And so we talk a lot about mindset, and mindset, although it is probably 80% of the business, we want to get into the mechanics also, like the blocking and tackling. Like the client said this, how do you overcome it? I had this situation or scenario, how do you overcome that? Role play, all those kind of things where we can help you really elevate your skill set with the clients that you're talking to. The one thing that I know about this business after 19 years of being in it is there's some good news. The good news is this: you get better and the clients do not. They're the same objections I got 19 years ago are the same objections I would get 19 seconds ago. They don't change. The clients are not in a different office right now doing a client classroom edition, coming up with better objections to trump you. Like, hey, we're gonna really get Michael, man. He's starting to get good with this. Think about it. We got to hit him. We got to keep him on his toes. Like, they don't do that. They give you the same stuff. It's the same psychology, same rebuttals, same everything. And so as you continue to get better in this business through experience, training, and education, like, you're the worst you're ever going to be right now, which is good news. I had this agent that went out and finally had a really big week, wrote like 10,000 for the week, and I said, good news, man. You still suck. He's like, I wrote 10K. I was like, this is the worst you're ever going to be, because like you should always be getting better. Like, there's always another level. There's always progression towards that goal of perfection. Although we don't reach it, but you're going to get better. Where you get on the phones and it's just second nature. And kind of imagine that. How cool is it going to be when you get on the phones, no matter what a client says, man, you're just cool, collected, posture is just solid. You already know in your mind, like, I already got this, right? Does that make sense? It's kind of like if you're in sports or in boxing and you've already fought this person 17 times and you've whooped him like it ain't even close 17 times. You're like, bro, I already know how the story ends. Like, you're about to lose, but like, let's go ahead. It's the same thing. Like, as you get good and better in sales, as you serve clients, like, you'll be able to meet them where they're at, understand how to relate, how to take them from where they're at, and then how to guide, direct, and lead them towards where you're trying to get them to go, which is getting a plan in place for their family. The first thing that you got to understand is that they've asked for help, and so it's already put you in a very strong position where they've expressed that they need you, you don't need them, right? And so before we kind of unpack some of these questions, let me just lay some groundwork. When you make a phone call, you have to first get that right. So a lot of the objections or things that we might cover on today's podcast in Classroom Edition will give you what to say, because you'll still get it. But 90% of it, what if I told you 90% of the objections that you get, like, if you set it up right, if you framed it right, if you knew who you were and your identity, and knowing like that you're the person that's a professional, you have what they need, you've got the upper hand, you're the doctor, they're the patient. If you knew those things and you approached it like that, you would mitigate 90% of the objections. But I want you to kind of come to that conclusion, no matter where you're at in this business, kind of draw some excitement, some enthusiasm from the fact that you're always going to get better. I had this group on today. I said, the conclusion you should hold on to is that there's no shadow of a doubt that you're going to be financially free. There's no shadow of a doubt that you're going to write 40,000 a month, that you're going to serve 40 clients a month. There's no shadow of a doubt that that's going to be ultimately the result. How long it's going to take to get there, that's unknown. But what does it matter if you're going to eventually get there? It doesn't matter all that much. And it's not going to take you 10 years unless you make one dial a month. Well, then maybe it will. But like, if you got a disciplined, diligent schedule and you work this like it's a job, there's no question that you're going to get there. And so now it's just, how do I, get through that learning curve or that process? Is there a way to expedite the time that I have to go through in that process to get to that outcome? And that's the stuff that we're going to talk about today. It's this Classroom Edition. This is the locker room. This is where we get better at exactly what you do to go out there, serve clients, and make money. But first and foremost, you have to understand that the clients need you, you do not need them. That the value that you hold far supersedes the value you get in the form of a commission check. Like, the value trade-off is well leaning towards you, which is great news. When you know you got the upper hand, you've got the leverage. But just because you have it doesn't mean that you're going to have the result as if you do. Meaning that you can have a great gift and a great blessing, but if you don't unpack it and do anything with it, does it really matter that you got it in the first place? The answer is no. If you've already got the win, but you don't act like you got the win, your actions and behavior and attitude could reflect the fact that you've already lost, even though you actually won. Does that make sense? So you got to really understand that they need you, you don't need them. What does that look like? I just think pre-gaming, before you hop on the phones, and reminding yourself of that, maybe taking a look at maybe a family member, a friend, somebody that you know that's lost somebody, and what that process looked like for them, how difficult it was if they didn't have it, how blessed and how much better the situation was if they did have it. It starts to remind you of how important what you do is. Does that make sense? It's kind of like a doctor. You know, if they've seen some great miraculous things take place because of how diligent they were as a surgeon, maybe that's heart surgery, whatever it is, and they've seen like things that shouldn't have gone a certain way, but they've been able to like do the impossible and seen a great miraculous, situation take place with their heart surgery, and they see how that person's life is saved, they need to remember that. Because if they don't, and they think like, oh, it's just a job, oh, I'm just going in there to do heart surgery, they're no way going to be as passionate and as intentional and as focused and as diligent as they would be if they understand how important what they do is. They got to keep that passion alive, right? Because passion is transferable. And when you've spoken to somebody that's just like, man, they're just passionate. You're like, dude, I just kind of like talking. I don't even know if you're right. But because you believe you're right so much and you got such conviction, I kind of just like, I'm good. Like, I'm in. Like, that's what you want. Well, how do you get there? You gotta fix your focus on how important what you do is, the solution you provide, how significant it is. You gotta kind of like put yourself in that frame of mind of like, what if you knew this person passed away and you're sitting down with this family and it's already too late and you're unpacking what their financial situation now looks like as they're going through the hardest thing they'll ever go through, which is a loss of a loved one. And you're kind of navigating, taking a look, like, what are we gonna do? And you're helping like find the pathway of what's gonna happen now. And the spouse is like, I don't know, like we're gonna have to move across country and move in with the kids, and what does that look like? Well, we're gonna have to move our kids across, and like I'm gonna have to pick up 2 jobs, and where are you gonna work at? I don't know where I'm gonna work at. What if you can't find the jobs? I don't know. Like you're in that setting while they're dealing with the heightened emotion because daddy's never coming home. Like sometimes when you step into that, even though it hasn't happened, the truth is we all know that it's going to happen. The question just is when. And if you don't know if it's going to be tomorrow or if it's going to be in 10 years, 5 years, 2 years, 22 years, you might as well just imagine as if it's going to happen now. So that way it puts you in a more passionate position to go out there and take the eyes off yourself, your own self-interest, because maybe you need to make money for your family. Maybe you got to get paid. Maybe you're like, dude, this business has got to work. Well, if you're so focused on me, like you're not going to be able to be in a position to really help them because they don't care how much you know. They care about, do you care about me? And so you got to be able to put your eyes on them. And this is kind of how you do it. Does that make sense? Like stepping into it as if it's already happened and being diligent with that. Because if you know that you're the person that's the professional, I like to say like almost that doctor-patient analogy, like you've got the upper hand, just like a doctor. The doctor doesn't try to close you. He's not trying to convince you of what to do. He's like, bro, you came to see me, and it doesn't matter how much money you got in your account. If you got a sore throat, the only thing you're thinking about is how the heck do I fix my sore throat? Which means that like I've got the upper hand. It doesn't matter what your economic situation is. It doesn't matter nothing. You have a big problem that's driving you nuts. You've got concern. You want to be healthy. You are looking to me to provide the solution. So the doctor's got this upper hand. He's got the dominion. He's got the authoritative position. So do you. But a doctor, you could go in and he could be like, well, I'm not too sure. Like maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe you take this, or you could take that. You're like, dude, like I do have the same problem. I still need the solution, but I got zero confidence that you're going to provide it for me. And so then you leave and you don't know what to do, but you're not going to do what he's saying because he doesn't hold himself with the authority and confidence that you expect and ask and desire for him to truly have. Does that make sense? Like, be clear. Most people are more alike than not alike. The clients you talk to, guys, they want to be led, guided, and directed. They want to be told what to do. And so do you. No, I don't. You go to a doctor and you got a situation. Do you want the doctor to ask you or tell you? I want him to tell me. Like, dude, this is your situation. This is what's going on. This is why it's going on. This is the solution. This is why the solution. Here's the game plan. Take it for once a day for the next 3. Like, that's what you want. I'm like, cool, done, good. And the more confident he is, the more confident I am in him, and the more confident I am to move forward and execute in the plan of action that's been laid out for me. That's you. That's you. Now, you could say, well, what if I'm brand new? You have a posse of doctors, so to speak, that are world-renowned, best in the class, done this forever, and they can give you the answer. It's kind of like that one set, old adage, like, you don't have to be the man if you know the man. Like, you don't have to be the person if you know the person. Like, what do you care? If you're a heart surgeon and you don't know the answer because you're newer, but you got in your phone call the phone number and he's one of your best friends to the best heart surgeon in the entire world, and he said he'll pick up the phone if you call and he'll give you the answer as if the client called them. Are you going to lack confidence? You shouldn't, unless you got a pride and an ego issue because you want to be the one that's got the answer, and the client knows that you probably don't have the right answer because they can smell a phony a mile away. You don't have to be phony about it. You could just say, hey, listen, great question. I'm about 99% sure of the answer. However, I will never give you feedback or tell you something that I'm not 100% certain of. If you wouldn't mind, I have a good relationship with one of the chief field underwriters that oversees like the entire region, and he literally takes phone calls to answer questions like this, and he has for 2 decades. Do you mind if I give him a call? Because he'll know exactly the best carrier, the best option, and there's no question it'll be the right answer. Do you mind if I make that call real quick? No. Go ahead. They like and trust you significantly more because why? People like people that are vulnerable and open and honest. Like, they don't want the person that just acts like they know it all because they think that the person wants them to know it all. They like the person that's like, hey, I'm not positive, but you can trust me that I'll always get the answer. What does that say? It says you're dependable. What do people seek more than really anything else with somebody that's leading them, guiding them, directing them, and that's a professional? Are they dependable? That's what they want to know. That's what you guys want to know about me. Like, bro, are you dependable? Can I depend on you? If you say something, are you going to come through? That's leadership. You're the leader with the client. Does that make sense? And so these are just some of the groundworks that a lot of the stuff that we'll unpack and uncover. If you can kind of get this right, like your identity right and who you are in this client agent relationship, everything else will become a lot better. It'll work out a lot better. Even so, when you get an objection, it's not like, oh shoot. Like, I remember getting an objection when I first got started, and I felt like it was like me getting pushed against a wall. Like, I had to like fight back. Like, oh shoot, like, what do I say now? I'm gonna lose it. They just threw me off. It was going good, now it's not going good. Like, that's what I was thinking. And then I realized, like, everything's perspective. And if I know who I am, an objection is just maybe a red flag for 2 reasons. One, maybe it's not really an objection, they just simply need clarification. And I'm packaging it as if any kind of question or adversity or resistance is some objection. Maybe not. Maybe it's just like, they just want to kind of know, like, does it have to come out on that date? Do you really need my social? Maybe they just want to know. Like, maybe it's not an objection. Do you need my social? Maybe they just want to know, like, do you need it? Right? And then the second thing is, sometimes it's just an open door for you to show who you are, because maybe they have not identified you yet as you've identified yourself. If you haven't identified yourself yet as the professional, the doctor, the person they desperately need, well, then that objection is not going to help you. It might hurt you. Because if you identified yourself as just a salesperson trying to make a sale, when you get an objection, your response will be like a salesperson trying to make a sale, and it's going to lead you further away from that sale. But if you know who you are and you get that objection, your response is going to be a response that lets them know that you are the doctor, you are the professional, you're the person that holds the value, and that you're going to go out of your way to help them because you care about people, but you're not no salesperson. In fact, you really don't care what they do or don't do. Your job is just to help people, and you're behind helping out as a manager. And so let's not act stupid here because I got a million people to call. That will be what's reflected, and that's now going to set the precedence for you to have a higher chance to actually close the deal, because that objection sets you up to be more repositioned in the same light that you see yourself, they now get to see as well. Does that make any kind of sense at all? Like, this is kind of the psychology behind it. The other psychology behind it is like people want to do what everybody else is doing. That's psychology one. It's a herd concept. The second psychology is that people want what they can't have. People want what's being taken away. The fear of loss is a lot more motivating than the possibility of gain. So those are some of the things that you can use as well to let them know that you are in control and you're the one that's there to serve, help them, and there's nobody better that can help and serve them than you. And so when you get an objection, a lot of the responses is always going to be kind of predicated against this, around the same frame. It's like, Ray, great question. The purpose of my call is to see what you can qualify for at the best price possible. Now, I'm not too sure yet that you'll qualify and what plan you'll qualify for. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. The first step is to identify some of your health situations. I can then, as a field underwriter, compare the guidelines and see who will and who won't qualify you at the best rate possible. For you, have you ever had cancer, heart attack, or stroke? You haven't? Okay. Any diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol medication? No. Any medication at all? Yeah, I'm taking something for my thyroid. Got it. Okay. What for your thyroid? Can you unpack like the severity of it? When was it diagnosed? That's the takeaway, right? That's the posture. Like, let's not get ahead of ourselves about this whole quote situation, bro. We got to go on a first date. Like, we're trying to get married here and stuff. Like, we got to still get you qualified. Then we can see, what the quotes are. Let's not get premature here. By the way, I'm not a salesperson, man. Like, my job is not just to give you pretty quotes. If you want to talk to that department, I can transfer you. My job is actually to see if we can get you qualified as a field underwriter. Now, I can give you the sales department, or I can help you without a nurse and a salesperson try to get qualified. What would make more sense for you? Like, I'm the professional, right? Like, they need me, I don't need them. And by the way, it's not like unattractive approach. It's very attractive. People want that. Does that make sense? The person that can stand up for them, that's confident. Like, the differentiator between the good and the great is really a level of confidence. It's not confidence because the person wrote 40 grand. It's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Dude, they wrote 40 grand because they were confident. Like, they're confident before. Does that make sense? It's like, dude, once I get that chick, man, then I'm gonna be confident. Bro, you gotta be confident to get the chick, dude. Like, it's like going back to high school. Like, you foaming all over yourself thinking like, if she says yes, then you can be confident for the next one. No, bro, you better get your confidence right now. Like, the right one's gonna be like, what, huh? Like, speak up when you talk. Are you whispering? So like, be confident. Like, you've got the upper hand. They've asked for the help. Make sense? So, one thing I want to also preface this is with, and then we'll get into a couple questions and we'll wrap up. I would encourage you guys, like, the time of the year is kind of a cool time of the year. Like, it's legit, like, right at halftime. Halftime was like, less than 2 weeks ago. And that's really a great opportunity for you to reflect, reevaluate, and then reframe the second half. Maybe you had an idea of what the year was going to look like. I could promise you this, halfway through, it definitely looks different than you expected. Sometimes it looks better than you thought. Many half times it looks worse than you thought. It is what it is. What you do going into halftime is you evaluate the first half, figure out adjustments that need to be made, and you attack the second half with vigor and excitement because now you've built upon some lessons learned and reflected upon experience. There's many sports games that you'll watch, they go into the halftime and they're way further down than they expected. All the time. I mean, I just look back at the most recent one with the Knicks and the Spurs. The Knicks didn't expect to be down 29 points, the greatest deficit going into halftime. They didn't expect that. They're like, hey, beginning of this game, bro, like, halftime, we're going to be getting smoked. Like, they didn't think that. But when they got into the locker room, like, hey, we didn't expect this was going to happen. We kind of got smoked. But what did the first half of getting smoked lead us to figure out? What adjustments? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? That kind of stuff. The Spurs, they're probably like, dude, we did not expect to be up this much. Like, we are smoking them. And maybe they kind of were like, I think we're just good. And they didn't make adjustments because a lot of times, like, complacency is what kills success. I don't know. Maybe they did or didn't. All I know is that the Knicks came back and smoked them. So I'm believing that for you. Going to the second half, what did the first half teach you? And see, questions produce thoughts. That's why better questions produce better thoughts. And your life is always moving in the direction of your greatest thoughts. So asking yourself good questions, being a self-employed business owner, is essential. Self-employed means that you're the employee and the employer. Sometimes we get so focused being the employee, just running, nonstop activity, that we don't look up and say, like, is this actually working? Right? And then sometimes, as an employer, we are thinking all the time, well, maybe this, or maybe that, or maybe this lead strategy, or maybe this. It's like, no, you got to go execute, dude. You're both, the employer and the employee. You're both. You got to wear both hats. Employer looks at the goals, customizes the schedule, puts it in place for the employee. The employee doesn't have to think a bunch. They just go to work and they execute. And at the end of the day, the employee checks in with the employer, which are both you. Would I get a promotion based off of today's performance, or would I get fired? And if there's so many days that you'd be like, I probably get fired, you're going to have to go get a job because you're not doing what you need to do, executing on the plan that will work. It's like baking a cake. I don't know why. It's like, bro, you didn't put the freaking sugar in. Like, you didn't do these things. That's why, like, you can't miss anything. Everything works a little bit. No, nothing works all the time, but you got to work all these little things all the time. So being very diligent and disciplined with all those things. Does this make sense, guys? All right, so all that to say, like, make sure that you're reflecting and asking yourself pointed questions. What's working? What's not working? What's my biggest distractions? What are my greatest time wasters? What are the best investments of my time? What's the best investments of my money and my schedule? What's something I could take out, delete, remove? What's something that I'm doing that I could automate and actually make a system where I don't have to do it any longer? What's something about my schedule and daily routine that I could delegate? Maybe I should hire somebody and give it to them so they can take it so I can do more of my schedule, focus on things that actually make me money, which is serving families. Like, really asking yourself some pointed questions. You know, who's somebody that can pour into me, that wants to pour into me, but I'm not taking enough advantage of that? Who do I not know that I should know that's going to help me in this area of my business? What are questions that I'm not asking that I should be asking that's going to help me go to the next level? What are some pain points, bottlenecks in my business that I currently have? What am I not seeing that I need to see that could take me out? What am I not seeing that I should be seeing that's going to help me elevate and grow and compound in 10x's? Like, those are some of the questions that once you ask yourself that, your mind goes to work unpacking and unveiling some things that maybe have been hidden or have been blind spots for you. Does that make sense? So anyways, questions are powerful. The last thing I'll say about that is, like, man, never want to be in front of somebody that can provide value to you in any area and not have a list of questions. No questions just means that you're not thinking about your business, and anything that you don't think about erodes and dies. You got to be thinking about everything that matters and thinking about nothing that does not matter. So anyways, what questions do you guys have? Michael?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this. What are some non-negotiables for your downline? So from KPIs to, like, participation in, weekly meetings. Do you feel like you have, like, a clear expectation? What are those, as someone who's interested in making sure the team is healthy, that I build?
Yeah, great question. So the question is, what are some things that your downline that you're working with, in order to help ensure that they're successful? What are some KPIs and things that you want to make non-negotiable that will give them pretty much the highest chance of success, right? And so a couple things. One, from a KPI standpoint, I'm asking about, for one, what's their lead investment? And getting them to realize that they need to invest. Usually the conversation is agents have to invest more in leads. I can't tell you over 19 years, man, like, the percentage of breakthroughs that come from simply an agent investing more in leads. And they knew that for the past however many months. They were just, like, finding reasons not to do it, putting conditions on it, negotiating with themselves. So the first thing is, like, dude, what are you investing in your leads? And how can we get you to invest more? Well, money's tight. Like, dude, like, this is a business where you can make multiple six figures your first year. You can't go find a way to come up with, like, $5,000. to start a business that's going to make you several hundred thousand? You know what the ROI on that is? Because once you make your first couple sales, you're playing with the house's money forever. It's like a $5,000 initiation possibly. Like, dude, that's bizarre. Like, my health center cost me 300 grand to start. And I had to start with staff. So I started a payroll with no income, with tons of overhead and machines, loans, you gotta raise capital for most businesses. Like this is nothing. And then you can go self-generate your own sales. So the person's like, I know, dude, but it's $5,000. Like, I'm just getting started. I'm 19. I get whatever it is. I just got out of high school. Okay, well, can you call some friends and family and book appointments? Why do I want to be that guy? Oh, what guy? The guy that's at the funeral and they're doing a GoFundMe and you're there with an insurance license? That guy? That had so much pride that you don't want to be the guy to say, hey, you know, cousin, listen, I know I might come across like the salesperson trying to sell life insurance, and be clear, I'm not that person. We have leads, so we got people that are already asking for help, but I also couldn't consciously live with myself if I didn't do like a review and see if I could help you enhance your situation, get you a better plan. Because Lemur's done a statistic where 80% of Americans are paying more for insurance than they need to be, not because they got a bad plan, but because they got a plan that covers health conditions they don't have, so they're paying a premium as if they got diabetes when they don't. And so what I could do is review it for you and make sure what you think is, and really kind of help you out with that. Does that make sense? Yeah. I don't even have life insurance. Well, great. Well, then I can set up a time to go through that with you, because you probably know that you need it, and you just put it off like everybody else has because you don't wake up thinking on a Monday that you're just going to die soon. So I'll set up some time to go through that real quick and do a review for you. Don't have a ton of time. I got time between appointments tomorrow at 5 or 8 for about 15 minutes, which is better for you. Book the appointment. That's how you got to handle it. Like, it's all the way you see it. Because I get it. Like, and by the way, if you work at some of these IMOs with no leads, you are that guy. You're like, no, I'm not. I just want to make sure they don't have a GoFundMe. No, they're the only resource for you to live for your, make any money. Like you got to sell them. You don't have to sell your warm market. We have leads. But like, how could you be so passionate and convicted to help a stranger if you haven't been able to talk to your family, right? So I would sell myself always on whatever perspective would lead me to doing the thing that would lead to success. And so you're not the person that's harassing and bugging them. It's all how you frame it. If you frame it that way, like, you could even call out the pink elephant, like, hey, I know when I say this, you're gonna be like, oh, he's now the person in the family that's going to be hunting us down at barbecues. That is not the case. I would rather get, you know, a root canal and a vasectomy at the same time to be that person. And neither one of those are fun. Together, it's worse. I have tons of families to call, but I'm not going to be at your funeral, and hoping it's not anytime soon, but if it is, and know that I didn't have a conversation with you to help your situation out. That's it, you know, and talk to them however you want to talk to them. It's your family and friends. The weird thing is, if you all act all weird, like you're using some phone script, the concept is like, I'm not that person, and you call it out. See, most of the time, all the things that you think would hold you back that you're going to deal with an objection, if you just call it out first, it's like, you ever watch 8 Mile when Eminem just like destroyed himself? Like, dude, that's a brilliant concept. Like, what are you going to do? Like, I've gotten out of about 982 speeding tickets because I feel like I get pulled over once a week. And I just beat myself. I like Eminem myself, dude. I'm like, I'm such an idiot. I don't know how I wasn't paying attention. Speed limit was probably right there. God, like, you know, my wife's going to kill me because, like, I told her that I'm a lot more focused and not distracted. And she's like, what were you doing? Not paying attention. Like, I just beat myself up. And I don't let them say a word. And they're like, dude, get out of here. Just slow down. Just slow down. Because I'm just, you know, like, I'm killing myself. Does that make sense? Like, I'm beating myself up. Call out the pink elephant. If you feel like the client is like starting to think that you're a salesperson, be like, hey, I know this might kind of seem off the wall, but let me just clarify. Like, I am not a captive salesperson. I filled underwrite and I'm licensed with the state of California. Like, I would rather not be calling you. Now, I love what I do and I'm really good at it because I care about families and I have the opportunity to look at all the different carriers that are available. So I feel passionate about the fact that there's nobody better that can best place a client than me because of my position as a field underwriter. But what you do or don't do, you know, doesn't make a difference to me at all, Ray. Like, my family's protected. Ultimately, I know this is important for you, And that's what my job is to do, is to see how I can best fit a plan that's going to make sense for you and also be affordable. And if we can't do that, it's no big deal. It's all good. Does that make sense, Ray? Well, now I recentered it all. So if I feel like you're kind of, it's like you got to teach people how to treat you. Does that make sense? I mean, there's people in your life probably right now that it'd be healthy for you to have a conversation and say, listen, I know you've been kind of like treating me like this for quite a while. I've made a decision. I'm drawing a line in the sand that from here on out, that's not going to be the case. The way it's going to look like is this. Like, that is very healthy. That could be with agents you're dealing with. Maybe they're like entitled, calling you nonstop as if you work for, Forrester's Financial. Maybe it's time to say, hey, listen, like, it might have been my fault or not, I don't know. But moving forward, I'm kind of drawing a line in the sand because I can't give you value that you're not asking for. And I could be an assistant at $15 an hour, or I could be a leader that helps you with value that's like worth $1,000 an hour. And I continue to answer your questions about product when you can call the sales team at Forrester's. So moving forward, all those questions need to be handled by Forrester's. I mean, you go as deep as you want. That could be with your spouse. I mean, I don't know, like, I'm just telling you, like, it's important to teach people how to treat you. That goes for the clients. If they're treating you like you're a salesperson that's like getting paid $10 an hour to like cold call and you live in the Philippines, like, call it out. Reset the stage. Let them know, like, hey, with all due respect, and this might be my fault. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm just overly kind, or maybe it's my voice that makes it sound like I'm just like subservient, although I want to serve you. Let's not get this mixed up, guys. I'm not a salesperson that's calling you from Afghanistan. Like, say stuff like that. When you say stuff like that, it throws people off. Like, what? Does that make sense? Because telemarketer ain't going to say that. And it unpacks what they're probably already dealing with. Good salespeople call out what's going on in a client's mind that maybe they haven't yet expressed. They call it out and overcome it before they even have to express it. So it's no longer something that's clouding their ability to listen to you. Does that make sense? So you got to read the room. And it goes back to knowing who you are. Because if not, what you'll do instead is you'll become more subservient. If they start pushing back and treating you like a salesperson, what you'll tend to do is like, well, Michael, no, listen, all I need is about 5 more minutes of your time. You'll start acting like what you would see as a typical salesperson because they're treating you like that. So oftentimes, our response to people is based off of how they label or view or treat us. That's why you could be a different version of you with different people. So you have to have enough conviction in who you are to know when they treat you in certain ways that doesn't reflect that you're the field underwriter, that you have to call it out and let them know, like, hey, that's not who I am. Does that make sense? Or it'll get worse because you'll just fall into behaving as they're treating you. Does that make sense at all? Okay. So, leads, for one, really important. What does your lead situation look like? Dials per day, presentations or contacts per day, presentations per day, closes per day. So those are the KPIs. What's really helpful as a leader, because as a leader, there's so many people flooding into our space right now. That's a good and a bad thing. Like, there's so many. The bad thing is, like, if you have a lot of sharp people, you're going to probably need to hire a corporate sales trainer or somebody to kind of help you with lifting that load, because your first goal and objective and chief objective is to go out and help 10 families a week for everybody. Like, that should be if this is where you're making money, this is your job, your biggest override is on you. And so, but the good news is that you can put things out there to figure out who's really worth your time. Like, I'm always trying to figure out, like, who's the most investable. It's kind of like if you're playing the stock market and there's 100 different stocks to choose from, you should do due diligence and figure out which ones are the most investable. There's going to be a lot more that are statistically, based off of probability and everything else, shown to be a lot more beneficial to invest your money in. And some you're like, dude, that would be a stupid investment. Well, why the heck would you invest in that then? If odds say 99% it goes backwards, you wouldn't. It's the same thing with my agents as I bring them on board. I'm trying to figure out, I'm paying attention, dude. I'm always looking. I'm a fruit inspector. Who's most investable? So if I say to 10 people, send me your KPIs, it's not for me, it's for them. Just like if you had a buddy that's like, dude, I really want to stop, I want to lose weight. Man, but it's been hard me keeping accountable. Well, dude, just shoot me over like how many calories you consume in your macros each day. Like it's just accountability. Like, it's not for me, right? It's like, if you're serious though, that might incline you to make better choices because you're like, I'm gonna look like an idiot because I told Paul that I want to lose weight and I got to send him over that I ate 4,822 calories today, right? Like that's, or I'm a liar and I don't want to be a liar, right? So, you tell your agents like, hey, send me over your KPIs for the day, and they know what to send. Another non-negotiable is conference calls, our weekly trainings, our big meetings or national events, like non-negotiable. Like, I love you either way. I'm rooting for you. You don't have to, I'm not going to let you go. You don't have to quit, but just know if you don't plug into those things, like, I'm not going to give you any of my time. Cause that's crazy, dude. Like, how disrespectful, I was talking to you guys earlier, like, about, like, Verizon makes you go fly out and get a week of training and they don't pay no money. I mean, compared to what you can make here, but they'll make you go fly. That's a part of the requirement. You got a position, you got to go get trained on how to close, how to talk to clients, what it looks like, what are they going to say, what are the questions the clients are going to ask. When they say this about this, how do you close it? How do you upsell? Like, it's a whole game plan. They don't just throw Billy in there. It's like, Billy, go close some phones. And he's like fumbling all over himself. They got a playbook, dude. Like, Verizon's been doing this thing for a while. They go to Verizon school. You open up a McDonald's, you go to McDonald's school. How disrespectful is a person that skips Verizon school and then they got questions for the person all day long? Person's like, dude, go to school. All those questions are answered in school. And then come back, right? So one of my non-negotiables is like, you got to be on the calls. And so if, like, when I'm talking to you, I know the most important, because as a leader, your goal is like, what's the most important thing I could be talking to this person about? Because there's a million things you could be talking about, right? It's the same thing with spouses, with kids, with anybody. The most effective communicators, they ask themselves, out of all the stuff I could be talking about, what's the most important thing I could be talking about right now? I mean, Michael, you do it when you go on your walks, like you have, like having intention behind, like, there's a lot of things, but what's the main thing? So one thing I know, the main thing for somebody that's working in my business that will help them get to a place where they can be successful is plugging into the calls. That's it, dude. That's the main thing. Because most of the time somebody's fruit doesn't look good because they don't believe in themselves or believe in this business, and they're just trying to figure it out. Like, let's just see, let's just test it. Dude, like, what have you ever just tested and it freaking crushed? Nothing. Bro, you're either all in or you're not. You're either committed or you're not. Like, go test being married. I just want to see if I actually like this. What? Bro, you better be committed. Because it's going to suck a lot of times. It ain't going to be what you think it is. That's with everything. So with business, you really got to make this decision that you're not the magic. If you're the magic, then you're going to want to spend all this time with people. You're not the magic. Why would you spend 30 minutes talking about something where there's somebody on a call that is 100 times bigger, more successful than you are, and not let them be the one that speaks to them? Like, that's just crazy to me. It's like, if you want to get good at golf and you have Tiger Woods or the Spring Valley Lake Golf Shop Pro, who are you going to get feedback from? And if you're leading that person, who are you going to point them to get feedback from? I would hope Tiger Woods, as long as he's not locked up, But like that's what I would hope for. So it's the same thing. You got to understand, like, each person's position and knowing who, like, plugging them into the calls. And then over a period of time, like, they'll become the person possibly, or they won't. But you would never help them become that person. Like for you guys that are like, this is my business, I want to take it serious, and you missed the national calls on Monday, you missed the morning huddles, like, dude, stop lying to yourself. Like, that's just, it freaks me out. It's kind of weird. It's like, you just like, it's okay, but just stop telling yourself that you're all in. Like, because like, how, like, if you're not getting the results, what does that mean? You need training. If there's a disconnect from where you are to where you want to be, you need training. It doesn't mean you got to stop doing what you're doing before you, no, you do both. Like some of the best training is experience, but only reflected upon experience helps you get better. And then you got to be exposed to the best way to do it so you can gauge how far off you are and what you should tweak, adjust, and modify to get closer to that. That only comes from exposure, and that exposure comes every day on these national calls where you got the best of the best. We don't sit back and think like, hey, on Tuesday, let's get like just a really average person on the host this for everybody. like who's really average? Like, no, man, like we sit back and think like, who is crushing it that can pour into the group? They're the ones that get on. They're the ones that are training. Does that make sense? So like I make it a non-negotiable that they got to plug in. And I would rather spend, if somebody's not plugging in, and it's case in point to what I just did. Like I was very intentional with the way I just handled that. I would rather spend 5 minutes selling you on getting on the calls than spend like 20 minutes talking about the questions you've got. Because I might give you the answers and it's going to help for a second, but if you're not plugged into the source, you're going to eventually deplete anyways. Does that make sense? So I might be able to give you 30 minutes a week and you just get 30 minutes a week and you're not getting on no calls. Or I give you 30 minutes a week of selling you on the call. So I give you nothing but just a promotion on getting on the call for full 30 minutes and you actually listen. Well, now you get 7 hours a week on the calls. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of this business is being a great producer and a great promoter. Production cascades the right example for those to follow. It sets the precedence of the standard that they can achieve and hit. It helps inspire, encourage, and empower them to go out there and do the same because they see your example. And then promotion is you edifying, building up, and letting them know why it makes such a big difference for them to plug into whatever you're promoting, whether it's a conference call, training, podcast, sales conference, whatever. If you're a good producer and a good promoter, you'll build a good business. But if you're just trying to be a good trainer and train them, you won't produce a lot because your time will be spent training and you're going to have no business because you can't be all things to all people and you're not nearly as good as probably a lot of the ones that are training on these calls. Does that make sense? Which is a beautiful business model to have. So, any last minute questions that you guys have?
What's better, being self-isolated when you're dialing, or around a bunch of people?
I think it's definitely better being around a bunch of people. Now you might want to be isolated because it's comfortable, right? But the one thing that, it was a quote I read in a book a long time ago, and it's actually upstairs on the office wall because I felt like it was something that I needed to be frequently reminded of, is that life begins at the end of your comfort zone. So anything that's comfortable, you want to do the opposite. And so if you're like, it's comfortable to dial by myself, do the opposite. Because growth, life, everything begins at the end of your comfort zone. I mean, think about your life, dude. Everything that's good that you can point to in your life, it probably was on the other side of you being comfortable. A good body is on the other side of being comfortable. A good marriage is on the other side of being uncomfortable. Like everything, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And so getting around a bunch of people, it's uncomfortable, but that's where you get better because you can see and hear what they're saying. They can hear you. They can be like, dude, don't say that, say this. Like those little changes, bro, are everything. And then it's also positive peer pressure. So you want to always place yourself in environments that bring out the best in you. If you're by yourself, it's a lot easier to start scrolling, to distract yourself. Like, bro, when I was by myself dialing, I had like a baby bladder syndrome. I had to go pee like 19 times a day. I don't think I really had to go pee. I just convinced myself I had to go pee because it was something that made sense to get up and not dial. It's like, how do I got to pee 19 times a day all of a sudden? But when you're with people, you're less likely to do those things that are going to pull you from doing the main thing because it's good peer pressure. So if you put yourself in an environment where like the lower level you, the distracted you, is harder to come out, and the higher level you, the intentional you, the disciplined you is more likely to come out, that's a big win, dude. And that's a cornerstone habit. I'm just going to choose to be in a better environment. You know, it's so I would just say chase being uncomfortable, get comfortable being uncomfortable, and you're going to be very fulfilled, because fulfillment, like personally, also comes from growing and giving. When you see growth, which growth only happens on the outside of comfortability, that's fulfilling, is when you see progress. Now, we don't know it because we're stuck in the feeling, but once we do it and we reflect, that's when you feel the best, is when you actually did the thing you didn't want to do, but you did it anyways. It's very, very gratifying and very fulfilling. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, I love you. I hope this helps. Make sure to share, like, subscribe. Let's make it a massive week. Be strong. Stay steadfast. We love you guys. God bless you.